What we are doing today is an extension of our previous video about setting up Claude with Google Search Console MCP. You can check out a video right here. Our main goal in this series of videos is to help you set up all the right MCPs so that you will get SEO superpowers for free. And today we are going to connect Claude with Google Analytics so that together with the Search Console MCP, we are able to extract the data from both MCPs to find emerging topic clusters to work on, prioritize which pages on the site to refresh if you have a huge site, find content pages with an engagement leak, and you can even ask it to consolidate all information into a visually pleasing page so that it's easy for you to consume the information, and many more. So if you haven't watched our previous video to set up Google Search Console MCP, we highly recommend that you do so, but it's totally fine if you start with this tutorial and move on to the next. I will walk you through all the steps anyway. And as always, we will go through setting up on both Windows and Mac, and especially if you do not want to use some expensive third-party connector softwares, which most videos talk about, you're going to want to follow this tutorial. Alright, let me give you an overall plan so that you know the exact steps and where we are at as we move along this tutorial. First, this is the prerequisite, meaning the things you need to do before continuing with the process. If you have followed the previous video on Search Console MCP, you can skip this step because you would have installed something called UVX and installed Claude Desktop. Now, I won't go through setting up Claude Desktop. It should be straightforward, but I will walk you through the steps on setting up UVX in case you haven't done so. And then if you have followed along with the previous video, you would start from this step. You will need to install Python on your computer. And after that, you'll be configuring Google Cloud Console by enabling two APIs called Google Analytics Admin API and Google Analytics Data API. Most people will find this confusing, but I will try to make it as simple as possible. Then with some info you got from Google Cloud Console, you will need to visit your Google Analytics account to make the connection between the two platforms. Because you see, for Claude to access Google Analytics data, it first needs to connect with Google Cloud Console. And between Google Cloud Console and Analytics, there is no connection or access between the two. So you will have to give it the right access for it to work. And finally, once the above are done, we will configure Claude to make the connection to Google Analytics MCP. Alright, without further ado, let's start with the tutorial. Our first step is to install UVX. If you have installed this, just watch along, it'll be quick. If not, you can use the timestamps to skip ahead. So let's work on Mac and then we'll go to Windows. To install UVX on Mac, you would have to open up your apps and find Terminal. Let me expand this. Now, if you have already installed UVX, you can type the command which UVX. And if it returns a path, it means your computer has already installed it. But if you don't see this path and it says something like UVX is not recognized, then you would have to run this command. But don't worry, you can copy this command through the link in the description. And when it is installed, now there are two other commands that you need to install, which is this, followed by this, and you're basically done. It's nothing too complicated. Now, if you work on Windows, the commands are a little different. Similarly, you will need to open up your command prompt by clicking on the Windows search and type CMD or command prompt. This is the Windows version of Terminal. You will need to run this command, but before that, check if it is already installed on your computer by running the command where UVX. For Mac, it was which, but for Windows, it will be where. If you see a path, then it is installed, but otherwise, run this command. Give it a while, and it may take some time, and it is installed. We are done with this step. The next step is to install the Python package. Again, we will work on the Mac first. Let's go to Google and search Python install. This is the link. We want to click on it and then click on the download button. Once it is downloaded, you want to open it up, go through the setup process, click continue, continue again, agree to the terms, and hit install. We'll give this a while to install. This is necessary for the connection between Claude and Google Analytics MCP. And once this is done, let's close this, and we are done. Let's close this installer. Let's work on Windows. Similarly, go to Google and search Python download. Let's visit the same page and click on the download button. It is similar to Mac, but there are some differences. You will see what I mean in a while. Let's open up the installer, click on install Python, and a command prompt like window will open up. You hit Y and enter. Your computer will prompt you for your permission. You will need to approve it and hit Y and enter again. Do the same again. Let it install and done. Hit N and enter to exit, and we are done with this step. Now, the next step is the most important, which is to visit your Google Cloud Console to configure the two APIs. Now, regardless if you are a Windows or a Mac user, this step is universal, so please follow along. Let's visit Google again and search Google Cloud Console. This is the link we want to visit. Now, it is important that you log in with the Google accounts that have access to your Google Analytics data, otherwise this won't work. What you want to do is to click on this and you will see a list of your past projects. What you want to do is to click on Create Project. Now, we will need to give this project a name. It can be anything you want, but I will just name it as GA Claude Connection. Similarly, as I've explained in the previous video, that you can edit the project ID or leave it as it is. This project ID is unique to all Google Cloud Console users, so you have to be mindful of that. And let's click Create. Give it a while for it to create the project, and once it is done, you want to select the project. And now that the project is selected, what you want to do next is to click on the search bar and search Google Analytics. And this is the first API you need to enable. In a while, we will need to enable another API. So there are two APIs we need to enable, but let's start with this. Let's click Enable and give it a while for this API to be enabled. And it is done. The next thing you want to do is to click on this All-Off Consent screen so that you can give access and make connections between platforms. So let's click Get Started. Now, similarly, we need to give this app a name. It can be anything. And since we have created Claude GSC MCP in our previous video, we will just do the same as Claude GA MCP. Do not add names that include Google Analytics, otherwise you will have an error later on as it goes against their policy. So have it in a generic form. GA is fine. Let's add the support email. Click Next. And if you have a paid workspace account, you can select internal for more security and control. But for free users, external is the only option you have. So let's click Next. Select your contact email to notify you in case there are changes to the project. Click Next. Agree to their terms and create. Now, once this is done, you'll want to click on Clients and click on Create Client. For the applications type, you would select Desktop App. And as for the name, let's name it the same as Claude GA MCP. And let's click Create. Now, this is done. You don't need to download the JSON like the Search Console part. You just need to click OK. And the last thing you need to do here is to hover over the menu at the top left and click on it, and then hover over APIs and Services and select Credentials. Next, over at the top, click on Create Credentials and select Service Account. Give this service account a name. Let's keep it the same, Claude GA MCP. Now, take note of this email address because you will need this later on. For now, let's just click Copy, and then we will just click Create and Continue. You can leave the permissions and click Done. All right, now that the service account is created, you want to click on it and go to the Keys tab, and then click on Add Key and create a new key. We want the JSON format, and let's click Create. Right after it, a JSON file will be downloaded to your computer. We will need this file later on. Let's close this. Now, there is one last thing we need to do, which is to click on the search bar and search Google Analytics Data API. And this is the API we need. Let's click on it. It may take some time. And once it is loaded, let's enable it. And now this is done. We will have completed all steps we need in Google Cloud Console. I believe it is straightforward, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now let's move on to the next step, which is to visit your Google Analytics and make the connection between your Google Analytics and Google Cloud Console. So we are in Google Analytics, and if you haven't logged in yet, please do so. And once you are logged in, we need to give Google Cloud Console access to your analytics data. So what we want to do now is to mouse over to the bottom left and click on admin. And then under the property settings, you want to select property access management. From here, you will need to click on this plus button and add a new user. And remember, we still have the email we have copied from Google Cloud Console. We have not pasted anywhere, but we need to do so here. Let me uncheck this, and then you can give probably a viewer or a marketing role to view the data. Sorry, marketer. I would prefer the marketer role. And once this is done, we will click add, and this is basically done. The final thing we need to do is to configure Claude to make the connection. Let's go to that. All right, we need to split again. Let's work on the Mac first, and then we'll go to Windows. Now, do you remember earlier we have downloaded this JSON file from Google Cloud Console? This is the service account private key. So what we want to do is to move this file to a permanent location on your computer. It can be anywhere as long as you do not touch it. For me, I've created a folder on my desktop, so I will right click or control click and copy this file. And then over at my desktop, I've created this info file. This is the JSON for the Google Search Console MCP connection, but for now we will right click or control click and paste the file here. And then over at the downloads folder, we will move this to trash. Let's remove this as well. We don't need it anymore. All right, now let's visit Claude Desktop and configure it. Let's hover over the profile and click on it, and then click on settings. And under the desktop app section, you will click on developer. As you can see, we have a Google Search Console MCP running, but we need to click on Edit Config. This is the file we need to edit. Let's right click and open it up with text editor. And let me expand this so that it is easy for us to see. This looks intimidating, but trust me, it is not. Now, previously we have defined MCP servers, and within the MCP servers, we have GSC server, the same MCP we saw earlier. So right now we need to add this set of code. Again, you can copy this set of codes through a link in the description. As I've mentioned on our previous Search Console MCP video that we can only define MCP servers once. So we can't copy this entire code. So if you have already set up Google, the GSC MCP like I did, you need to copy from this quoted Google Analytics. And as you can see, we have this open curly bracket and a closing curly bracket at the bottom. Do not copy these two brackets, even if you have never set up MCP before. That's because the Claude Console file already included these two curly brackets. And any additional brackets will cause an error. Now, if you have not set up any MCP servers, you will copy from this quoted MCP servers all the way down to the second last closing curly bracket. But for us, we will copy from this quoted Google Analytics all the way down, leaving the last two curly brackets. And then let's right click and copy it. Now go back to our Claude desktop config. So right here, we have to be really careful. We want the Google Analytics server to be within the container of the MCP servers. So this is the opening container bracket for the MCP servers, and the curly bracket right before the next set of codes is the closing bracket. So what we need to do right now is from here at the closing bracket of GSC server, we need to add another MCP server. So we need to add a comma and hit enter to give our new server some space. And we will paste the Google Analytics MCP servers code here. Now, there are two things we need to add. One is the file path of the JSON service key that we have downloaded from Google Cloud Console, and the other is to add the Google Analytics property ID. So let's start with this. Now, earlier we moved the JSON file to our info folder on our desktop. Yours might be different, but we need to get that file. The best way for Mac users to know the file path, at least for me, is to open up your terminal and then drag this file to the terminal, and you will have the full file path. Make sure that you are dragging the right file. You will right click or control click and copy the file path. And then let's go back to our Claude config file. And within the quotes, you will paste the path. Make sure that there is no additional space at the back, otherwise the connection won't work. Now, the last thing we need is the Google Analytics property ID. So you will need to go back to your Google Analytics account, and under your property settings, click on property details. And right at the top, you will see the property ID. You want to copy this ID and then head back to your Claude config file, replace this placeholder with the copied ID, and we are done. For Mac users, what I recommend you do is to hit Command A to select everything and Command C to copy the codes and paste it somewhere. Because if there is some slight syntax error like additional brackets or a comma, this file will reset to the default and you would have lost everything that you have added to the file. So copy and paste the entire code somewhere so that you can configure it again if there is an error. So once you have copied the codes, let's close the file, and then we want to restart Claude Desktop for the changes to take effect. Now that we have restarted Claude, if everything is done correctly, you will not see any errors popping up. So let's click on your profile, click on Settings and Developer, and you will see the two MCPs running. Now let's test this. Let's type, "Can you access my Google Analytics data?" It will ask for your permission to make the connection. Let's allow it. And there you go. Your Claude Desktop is now connected to Google Analytics. All right, now let's work on the Windows setup. We are on our Claude Desktop right now. Let's click on our profile and settings, go to the developer and edit config. This is the file we need to edit, so let's right click and edit with Notepad. Now we need to add a code like this. I won't go into the details like we did on Mac, so watch the Mac part first if you want to know what to avoid and stuff. So since Google Analytics MCP is the second MCP server, we'll copy from the quoted Google Analytics all the way down, leaving the two curly brackets. Let's right click and copy it, and then go back to the Claude config file. Let's expand this. Now, as you can see, we have defined MCP servers, and this is the entire container. There is already an existing MCP server here, so at the end of it, to add another MCP server, we need to add a comma, hit enter to give it some space, and paste the Google Analytics code here. And right here, we need to add the file path of the JSON file we have downloaded from Google Cloud Console. So we will go to the folder that contains the file. I've added it into an info folder on my desktop. Yours might be different, but we need to reach that file. Make sure that it is the correct file. Let's right click and select copy as path. Then back to your Claude config file. Let's highlight the entire path, including the codes, because this is important. Your copied file path already included the codes. We cannot have two sets of codes, otherwise there will be an error. So let's right click and paste it here. Again, make sure that there is only one code. And one more thing is that you need to add an additional backslash to each that has one. Make sure that all are double slashes because Windows will view a single backslash as a back character. And finally, we need the Google Analytics property ID. This can be found in your Google Analytics account under your admin settings and property details. You will see the property ID here. Go back to your config file and paste it here. And we are done. Let's click on File and hit Save. Do not click Save As because we do not want to duplicate that file. We want to overwrite it. So let's click Save. Let's close the file and restart Claude. I will hit Ctrl Alternate Delete to open the Task Manager, find a Claude instance and click on it and end task. This is to truly close Claude and not have it run on the background. And now let's open Claude again. And if there are no errors, you will not see any messages. So we are good. Let's click on our profile, go to Settings, Developer, and we'll see the two Google MCPs working. And as always, we need to test it to see if the connection is working fine. So we will ask Claude, "Can you access my Google Analytics data?" Allow access to it. And there we go. So it's time to show you what this connection can really do. I asked Claude to analyze both Google Search Console and Analytics to find topic themes or clusters that are emerging. And I asked it to share 5 further actions to work on. And as you can see, it has grouped all my contents into themes or clusters, and it includes both the Google Search Console data and Google Analytics data for each cluster in the same row. That way, I don't need to visit both platforms, analyze all the keywords and pages, and consolidate all the information from scratch. It only takes a couple of minutes to generate this information. That could have taken a couple of hours. And it even provided me with the actions that I should be taking. Next, I ask it to create a content refresh queue so that out of the large volume of content, I can prioritize which to work on first. And it has provided this. It gave me the Search Console comparisons and the Google Analytics comparisons, and even provided me with the action for the page. And as I let it run, it provided me with 10 pages I should work on first based on the data it has collected. And finally, I asked it to present all the information collected into a visually appealing HTML page that I could easily reference and understand. And it has provided me with this HTML page that includes all the information from our previous chat sessions so that it is easy for me to understand what's going on my site. I've tried these prompts on our rank maps data and it is working well. It has given us really good insights, and from there we can formulate a plan to move forward. So we'll provide you with the prompts we use, and I would really love to know if these prompts truly help with your business. So if you can share your experience in the comments section down below, I would really appreciate that. Also, we are planning another connection for Claude to access some MCPs that provide search volume data, and together with the existing MCPs we have created, it can really give you SEO mega superpowers. So do subscribe and get notified. Our channel is all about helping you grow your brand's authority, traffic, and sales. So if you haven't subscribed to us yet, consider doing so. This is Jack from RankMath. I'll see you in the next video.